Hey guys, my name's Adam, your friendly Sasquatch, and today we are going to be reviewing the Nitecore TM9K TAC light. This is a updated version of their popular TM9K, and it's a really cool compact flashlight. Fits in the palm of your hand pretty easily, and it's about as powerful as a lightsaber. The thing has 9,800 lumens, which is just absolutely insane for a handheld flashlight, let alone a handheld flashlight that's this small, compact, and rechargeable. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at this thing and dive into the review. First, let's talk about what's in the box. This is a really nice box. It's something you might want to hang on to for a long-term storage. It has a nice foam section in that the flashlight just nicely fits into. So if you want to rotate this light in and out of your EDC carry based on the weather conditions, maybe this is your winter light and in the summer you use something a little bit smaller, you might want to hang on to the box. It's really good for long-term storage of this particular light. So inside the box you get a pocket clip, which just attaches to the body of the light. You can do a tip up or tip down carry, whichever you prefer. A lanyard, a USB-A to USB-C charging cable. You could use your cell phone charger if it uses USB-C. We'll talk about charging times and battery later on in the review. And a nice holster. So a nylon holster has a nice heavy-duty metal ring on it with a large Velcro flap. The light fits in pretty snugly, so you don't have to worry about it, accidentally jarring loose or anything like that. And it would work great on your pack or your belt or something like that. I personally am probably going to put this on my emergency pack. That way, if a hurricane or something like that were to come in, I would just grab my pack and I'd have a nice light ready to go. The holster is also a open bottom design, which I really like because as you're using this, you're going to get sand and grit and stuff in the side there, and it'll just fall right through this holster versus accumulating a pocket full of sand. So yeah, definitely a solid job on the holster there. And finally, you get the normal paperwork, the user's manual and warranty cards and whatnot. You might not need a user's manual. Since you're watching this video, you're going to know everything there is to know about this light. Moving on to the size and weight of this flashlight. It's 4.92 inches long, 1.57 inches in diameter at the head, and 1.1 inches around the body of the handle. The total weight of this light is 7.71 ounces, which is a little heavier than some of the EDC lights I've reviewed on this channel before. But again, it is 9,800 lumens, so a huge step up in capability. This thing is truly a little monster. It fits in your hand, but it's not so heavy that it's a burden. And at 9,800 lumens, it's just insane. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the build quality and some of the features of this light. Firstly, this light is machined out of one piece of aluminum, which is pretty cool. The battery is integrated right into the handle. You can't take it out. And I did some reading online. It looks like they did that because they needed to get the extra amperage out for the 9,800 lumens output. So there's some additional circuitry and stuff in there that they had to work with. So the battery can't be pulled out, but it's not really a big deal. On the high setting, which is 1,900 lumens, this light will still run for 3 hours. So you're not going to really need to be doing hot swaps with batteries. On the back here, we have two buttons. We have the on button and off button, and then underneath that we have a nice large mode button, and we'll show all the modes in just a little bit. It does have a battery status indicator light, and I do like the buttons on the back here. The on-off button protrudes nicely from the back of the light, so even if you have gloves or something like that on, it's super easy to get to. And the mode button is really easy to use with gloves too. Since it's relatively large, you can even activate it with the side of your finger. Moving to the business end of this light, we have 9 Cree XP L2 HD LED lights, and those are upgraded from the previous version of this particular light, but they're very similar and they put out basically the same output. The lens is a crystal coated lens to help prevent it from getting scratched, and the 9 LEDs are recessed into what they call a digital reflector, which means they've designed it to optimize the floodiness of the beam and the throw. The throw of this light is just over 300 meters, so even though it almost looks like a floodlight when you turn it on, it's still throwing light out there a tremendous distance, and that's in large part thanks to the digital reflector in there. Around the lens, we have a steel bezel edge, which I really like the look of that, and then also when you have a steel bezel protruding the lens a little bit, it helps keep sharp objects from scratching and damaging your lens. This isn't a cheap light, but I'm pretty confident that with the crystal coating and the steel bezel, that lens is going to stay relatively protected. The light is waterproof down to 2 meters or 6.6 feet, and it's drop rated for 1 meter or 3.3 feet. So the light is just a super sturdy quality light. The machining is top notch, and one little thing I kind of noticed that since the battery is integrated into here, there's no rattle with this light like you have with other lights. If you listen, You don't hear the battery or springs or anything rattling around there. Everything is super tight and it feels like just a premium product. If I were to ever hold a lightsaber in my hand, this is how I would imagine it would feel. You know, you don't have the jingling and rattling in there from batteries and loose electronics or anything. It's a super dense feeling piece of technology. So as far as the design elements, build quality, and features of this light, Nitecore really knocked it out of the park. Okay, so now that you know all about the features of this light, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the brightness settings and different modes that you can put this light into. I didn't mention earlier, this back on off button has a full on and full off, but you can also just gently touch it for the momentary on and off. It has a pretty positive feel to it, so I really do like that aspect of the button. So this first setting here is 30 lumens and isn't crazy bright, but it will run for 60 hours, which is pretty awesome. So even though this light is incredibly bright, it's also got an incredibly long runtime and its lower brightness settings. And then to change the brightness, we just hit the mode button on the back here. And the next mode is 130 lumens. Click it one more time. We are now at 460 lumens. And then the high setting is 1900 lumens, which will run for 3 hours. So even in the high setting, you still get 3 hours of runtime. And 1900 lumens is a ton of light, guys. I think for most people, this is going to be enough. Something else I didn't mention earlier is the light has mode memory. So now that I'm in the high mode, when I turn it off, turn it back on, it comes back on in high mode. If I switch to the low mode, which is 30 lumens, turn it off, turn it back on, it stays in the low mode, which I really like. So if you're using the light and you want it in low mode, you're not going to accidentally turn it on high and blow out your night vision. Or if you're using it in more of a tactical setting and you really want that high power, it'll always come on in the mode that you last used. Now to get into the turbo mode, you just hold down the mode button and it comes on instantly to the 9800 lumens. And I really like that. It's just a momentary press on the mode button. Very much a kind of a tactical feel. You know, if you need to, instantly turbo mode. You don't have to cycle through the different brightness settings to get there. It's just instantly on. 9800 lumens is just completely overwhelming my camera. We'll get this outside in a little bit so you can see it at a distance and see what it's really capable of. Okay, so those were the 5 brightness settings. There's a couple other settings you should know about. The first is strobe mode, and then to get into that, we just double press on the mode button on the back. And you can see it's extremely disorienting. The strobe does kind of change its frequency periodically, which is kind of cool. Depending on what you're doing, you may not want it to always be blinking exactly the same rate. It'd be great for signaling or something like that too. Something else that's cool about this strobe mode is strobing in the full 9800 lumens, which is pretty damn bright. If you had an attacker or something like that coming at you, there is no way they'd be able to see anything. This is going to be so disorienting that you're going to put them out of commission. Something I noticed is if you put the light into strobe mode when the light is initially on, when you turn it back on, it will still be in strobe mode because of the memory mode, which is kind of cool. To get it out of strobe mode, just press the mode button once and it'll go to the next brightness setting. The final mode I want to talk about is the lockout mode. If you're storing this light for a long period of time, or you just have it in your duffel bag or something where the cap is unprotected, it does throw a lot of heat off. So it is smart to put it into the lockout mode for transportation or long-term storage. It's pretty easy to do. Oh, one other thing I kind of forgot to mention earlier, it has this nice light ring here, which is really nice for going between the different modes. You can just kind of hold it like a cigar, if you will. I'm not normally a fan of light rings, but this one is super comfortable, and the way it's placed, it really makes it easy to use both the mode button and the on-off button. It's also helpful when you're trying to put it into lockout, stuff like that, when you have to hit multiple buttons at the same time. So to put the light into lockout mode, first turn the light on, hold down the mode button, and then turn the light off, and you'll see it blink, meaning it is in lockout mode. So now when I try to turn the light on, it will not work. To take it out of lockout mode, all you have to do is hit the mode button 3 times quickly. 1, 2, 3. You'll see it blink, and it means it's no longer in lockout mode. And as you can see, the light comes back on again. So I do like the lockout mode function of this light. It's really easy to implement. It doesn't require a really funky sequence of buttons or something like some other lights I've run into. So overall, I'm really impressed with the brightness and build quality of this light. The buttons work really well, and I love the just overall feel of it. It kind of feels like your own little lightsaber or something. It's just a really dense quality piece of technology. Okay, so before we take this light outside, let's talk briefly about the battery and the charging functions of this light. So on the other side of the logo here, there's a rubber flap that just opens up and takes a USB-C port. And the charging times on this particular battery, it's a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. If you're using a quick charger, it'll take 3.3 hours to fully charge from complete dead. And if you're just using a standard USB A port, something that's not a quick charger, it'll take about 5 hours to charge this flashlight. Considering it's a 5,000 milliamp hour battery in here, that's pretty darn good. The integrated cell in here is a 21700, which is bigger than your traditional 18650 cell. So you do have quite a bit larger battery in here than a lot of the other flashlights on the market, which for a light that has 9,800 lumens, that's a good thing because it does use a lot of juice. But as I stated earlier, even on the high setting at 1,900 lumen, this light still has a 3-hour runtime, which is excellent. Okay, so that's it for the tabletop portion of this review. Let's get this thing outside so you can see what it's really capable of. Hey guys, welcome to the testing area, aka my backyard. And we're gonna do this test the same way we always do. We have the camera about 60 feet away from a brick wall. The house is on the left and we have the fence on the right. So we're gonna start the light in the ultra low mode, which is 30 lumens. And as you can see, as I shine the light out there, you can't really see the back wall, but right in front of us on the ground, you can see the ground. And if I put my hand in front of the light, it's definitely very visible. Turning the light up to the basic low mode, it's 130 lumens. I can shine it out there. I can see a little bit of detail in that back wall. I can easily see the side of the house, and the ground in front of me is definitely more bright. The color is a nice warm yellow color. It's not that kind of harsh cool blue white that some LED lights have. So that's the low setting at 130 lumens. Let's bump it up to the medium. Here's the medium setting. This is the 460 lumens, and I can see the back wall pretty clearly there. I do have my camera kind of turned down a bit so it doesn't completely wash out with the brighter settings. The ground in front of me is easy to see, and then the side of the house, I can light up a good section of the side of the house with this light. This is a pretty floody light. It kind of covers a lot of area, so even at 460 lumens, the hotspot isn't as bright as it might be on some of the smaller lights I've tested, but it's covering a much larger area. Okay, now bumping up to the high setting, this is 1,900 lumens, and as you can see, the floodiness of the beam becomes very apparent here. That entire back wall is just covered. Where a lot of the other lights I've tested will have a hot spot kind of in the middle of the wall, where this light is just very floody and just floods that entire back wall. If I do the side of the house here, you can see the entire side of my house, and it basically lights up my entire yard. This is the high setting, which is 1,900 lumens. Now going into turbo mode, you can see that this is just much too bright for even a yard of this size. It basically just lights everything up like a car headlight, the entire side of my house. The entire yard is completely lit. This would be great for adverse weather. If it's raining really hard, wet surfaces really suck up the light. This turbo mode is going to be more than enough to light up anything you need in any kind of condition. It's very powerful. Now in the turbo mode, I do notice that it runs for about 7 seconds and then it kicks back down to the high mode. I'm sure that's to help keep the light from overheating. If it does that, all you have to do is hold the turbo button back down and it'll go back into turbo mode. All right, the final setting we want to test is the strobe setting. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the strobe, so seizure warning. All right, so here's the strobe mode, and as you can see, it's very bright and obnoxious. The camera's going to have a little trouble picking it up because it's so quick, but it is the full 9,600 lumens bright. And it is changing the frequency, which is extremely disorienting. It's a pretty high frequency strobe, and if this was shined on someone's face, it would definitely be very debilitating if someone was trying to attack you. It'd also be good for signaling. This would definitely catch someone's attention. That's it for the outside testing. Let's head back in. Okay guys, so this was a review of the Nitecore TM9K TAC light. And if you're looking for a high quality laser sword, tactical flashlight, this is definitely the light for you. The build quality on it is top notch. I'm super impressed with all the machining. The integrated battery provides a super long runtime, and the buttons are easy to actuate even when wearing gloves. Overall, Nitecore has a home run with this light. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video review. If you did, hit that like button below. It helps the channel out a lot. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss future reviews just like this one. Cheers!